welcome back, guys. So today let's do a tag response video from Lee from Leboman, his channel, which I'm really good friends with him and a lot of other buddies that he mentioned to by name to maybe try to do a reaction to his questions for this horror tag he did from somebody else. And I thought it was a cool idea, and I'm glad that he gave me the idea to do what he did with his horror questions and say what I felt about these questions. So this horror tag is 9 questions, and I really liked all these questions, so it was hard to choose. But let's get started with this horror tag. Now, question number 1, favorite horror sequel. And this is very hard because honestly, I feel like I'm going to go with my gut and say Halloween 2, because Halloween 2 from 1981, because this is the first horror movie I ever watched. This one is important, and this one, even though I could say Halloween 2018 is a better sequel, this one has so many great things about it that I don't care. I thought that this one is my favorite Halloween sequel and my favorite horror sequel because it's the first one I watched. Even though the first one is a masterpiece, this one I think is a great sequel with issues. But still, it's so nostalgic that it is my favorite horror sequel. So that's why it is my favorite. And then question number 2 is worst horror sequel. And mine, just on rewatch recently, I just rewatched Texas Chainsaw 3D, which is the most dumbest and inept horror sequel I've ever, one of the most dumbest horror movie sequels I've ever seen, where you've got a girl who's 20 years old who's supposed to be 40 because they didn't realize in the movie that the first movie happened in the 70s, and then 2013 this girl's 20 that was born in 1973. So fucking dumb. And then also, the crooked cops are the bad guys in that movie because they tried to kill the cannibal killers and cover them up. So Leatherface looks like the hero in that movie. So fuck off with that. That's why it's my least favorite horror sequel, honestly, that I think I've ever seen. Out of all the horror movie sequels I've seen, I feel like this one is the most insulting and annoying to me. There could be worse ones in terms of filmmaking, but this one just bugged me. So that's why this is my pick for worst horror movie sequel. And then number 3, what horror sequel is the most underrated? And this one I am stealing Lee's answer because this is a perfect movie for this, is Psycho 2. One of my absolute favorite horror movies ever. In my opinion, this one is just as fantastic as the first Psycho because it just elevates the character. It gives this fantastic movie where you don't know if Norman is doing the killings or not until the end of the movie. And even then, you kind of don't know. And I love the fact that this is written so smartly well by Tom Holland. And I loved everything about this one. It just is incredible. It's an incredible performance by Anthony Perkins and Meg Tilly. They're both incredible in the movie as well. So Psycho 2 just is one that nobody talks about because, again, like Lee said in his video, nobody mentions the Psycho sequels, which 2 I love, 3 I like, and 4 I like. And then the remake is obviously really, really stupid because it's the same movie again as the first one, but I can still watch it. And the Bates Motel TV movie is awful. So Psycho 2 is my favorite underrated sequel. And then question number 4, overrated horror sequel. Now this one, before I say this movie, or before I mention this movie, I like this movie. I love this movie. I think it is fantastic. It is a fantastic slasher, but it is not my favorite in the franchise. And I'm going to get shit for this, but I don't care. It is Friday the 13th, the final chapter. And if I had to rank this movie in terms of the franchise rankings, this is like number 5 or number 6, because I honestly could watch... Part 5 is my favorite one, which is, again, another thing that makes people go, what, really? But I love Part 5. That's my favorite Friday movie. And I could even watch Part 3 over Part 4, because Part 3 I think is scarier. I think that Part 4 is fantastically entertaining and fantastic with the gore and effects and Tom Savini and all the characters. But in terms of watchability, it's not the one I go to first. So I'm not saying it's in any way a bad movie. I love the final chapter, but to me it is overrated just because it's not the one I go to first. if that makes sense. I still love it though, so don't kill me. I still love it. And number 5 would be Beth's death scene in any horror movie. And this one I really didn't think about much, so I kind of went the route of a simple kill, which actually works because of the story. You really, whenever this character gets killed, you actually feel really satisfied, which is disturbing, but it works. And it's a kill from Psycho 2, which, funny enough, no one would ever mention a kill from that movie, but the kill with Lila Crane, where the knife goes up, and she gets stabbed through the mouth, and like the knife is through the back of her head, and like she just, like, it is a great kill, and it is brutal, and it always gets me every time. I love it. It is one of my favorite kills, and I cannot, there are so many kills in horror movies that I could say is the best one, and this one might not be the best one, but it's the one I thought of immediately. Like, this one is awesome. I love that kill. And then number 6, horror sequel with the best gore effects. Probably, I'm going to put Friday the 13th, the final chapter, because the gore in that is incredible, because Tom Savini came back. He also did the Prowler's effects, Joseph Zito directed the Prowler, but the effects on the final chapter, like, to me, with Tom Savini involved, like, it truly blows me away how they did the thing with the end with Jason getting killed and like sliding down the machete. That's an actual full animatronic thing, because it's in 1984. It had no digital effects, obviously. Just one of the best use of gore special effects in any movie is the final chapter. So I think I stole that from Lee too, but it's still an answer that so many people would pick. And then number 7 would be horror sequel that I used to hate, but now I love. And hate is a strong word. I never hated this movie, but Halloween 4, I thought first time watch, I thought it was fine. I liked it. Going over the years, rewatching it, and so many people online saying it's one of their favorite Halloween movies, this one has really gained more of a love for me. Even though I liked it the first time, fine, but I've watched it so many times that now every time I watch it, it grows on me more, and I've never disliked it, but I really love it now. I think it's one of the best sequels overall in the franchise, so I really love Halloween 4. And then question number 8, horror sequel that I used to love, then hate. And hate, again, is a strong word. I don't hate this movie, but Halloween 5, like Halloween 4, I thought they were both fine, and I liked it a lot. Halloween 5, I liked a lot of things about it, but watching that over the years, it has kind of dwindled, and like, it's more apparent what the problems, if that makes sense. Like, there's so many problems in that movie, and it's such a rushed movie that there's so many issues. So that's why that's my pick. It's just like, I enjoyed it a lot when I first watched it, but it's got the alternate effect that Halloween 4 had, where Halloween 4 I thought was fine. Really love it now. I think Halloween 5 I liked a lot, then I don't really like it as much now. I thought that, even though there are still some fantastic things in 5, don't get me wrong, it's just not my favorite. It's my second to least favorite overall in the franchise, so that's my pick for horror sequel that I used to love now and then hate. And again, those words are used very loosely. And then number 9, horror sequel that has the best ending, and I had to pick, this was very hard, but I had to pick Black Christmas. Black Christmas, the way it ends, the way that the last character alive is just in the house, she thinks she's killed Billy off, or whatever his name is, and then it does that horrifying like thing where it goes around the house, the camera goes around the house, and he's still in there, and he talks just maniacally, and then it cuts to the outside where the cop's watching the house, and then like the phone starts ringing inside, like it did throughout the movie whenever the killer calls. And to me, that's one of the best endings ever, because it's ambiguous, where you have no idea if she's gone. Like, I love that fact. I love the fact that it's one of those movies where it's so ambiguous, but in a way where it works perfectly. Like, I really don't want to know if she lived. I love that mystery of just never knowing, because we never got a sequel to this. We got a remake, but we never got a sequel, so I really love that. That's why it's my favorite horror ending. And again, it's so hard to choose. There are so many other great endings, but But that is it for the horror sequel tag, and if I wanted to tag somebody, it would be the people that Lee tagged, which would be Derek's Horror Corner, Desmond's Flicks, Entertainment Fanatic Reviews. That's pretty much it. So and Millsy Movies, also a new friend as well. I want to talk about him as well. So that's it on my horror sequel tag. Do this if you want to. Like, I thought this was a fun 9 questions to answer. So thank you guys so much for watching.